One of the most important questions about Game of Thrones is who will sit on the Iron Throne. And it is important. There are a lot of different characters who could effectively sit on the Iron Throne and rule the Seven Kingdoms. But I think to understand who will sit on the Iron Throne, first you need to understand the character. But second of all, you need to understand the important change that needs to happen this time. What will be different this time around than when Robert sat the throne, or when Joffrey, or when Tommen, or now Cersei has sat the throne? What's going to be different? And I think the key difference this time around is it's going to fall in line with what Tyrion and Daenerys see for the world, and that's breaking the wheel.
Because I believe in you, and in the world you want to build. But the world you want to build doesn't get built all at once, probably not in a single lifetime. How do we ensure your vision endures? After you break the wheel, how do we make sure it stays broken? You say you can't have children, but there are other ways of choosing a successor. The Night's Watch has one method.
The wheel is something that allows the rich houses to crush over the poor. It keeps the wealthy houses in power, because leaders are drawn not by who's capable of being a leader, but by blood, or by army. Robert was king because he won a war. He was a terrible king. Joffrey was the next in line, and he was a madman. And then there was Tommen, who was too impressionable to the point where he crippled the realm. And now there's Cersei with her own agendas. So what's clear is that if they want to build a better world, like what Jon wants, what Daenerys, Varys, Tyrion, and many other characters want, they first need to destroy the wheel that keeps these wealthy families in place in the first place, to avoid another situation where a madman becomes king. And I think we've seen hints at an electoral system. A system that doesn't rely so much on their claim to the throne, but rather if they're right for the throne. The Ironborn have a way of electing a leader, so do the Night's Watch. And this ensures that it's good for the people because the people get who they want. And maybe one day, a person who grew up in Flea Bottom could try and gain support of the realm and be king. So this concept of breaking the wheel has been very prevalent in the show. So even though it's not certain who will sit the throne, it's important to know that the rules of the game have to change in order to make this show mean anything. And first there's Cersei. She currently sits on the Iron Throne, the first queen of the Seven Kingdoms, and she will not be queen for long. Cersei's driven by revenge, and she's driven by fear because of the prophecy of Maggie the Frog.
You'll be queen. For a time. Then comes another. Younger. More beautiful. To cast you down and take all you hold dear.
Her drive is to get revenge on the people who have wronged her, and to try and protect herself and the life that she had. And now at this point, Cersei's been left with nothing. And I think at this point, Cersei's key purpose is to destroy everything Daenerys stood for. Make the people of Westeros realize that Daenerys is not the great queen that she thinks she is. And that would be poetic justice that Cersei has planned for her, to take away all that she holds dear, and make her look just like her father, the Mad King. And then that goes to Daenerys. Her whole character arc has been attaining the Iron Throne. And from season 1, she's been a conqueror. She's used fire and blood to take what is hers. And she's also made very well-measured decisions to make the world a better place. And sometimes she cares so much it can be the detriment to her. She freed the slaves, but she crucified the masters, further separating the two sides rather than bringing them together. And what is the Seven Kingdoms other than a group of people? If Daenerys can't keep together different people with different opinions of each other, then that's not an effective ruler. That's not how you keep the peace, no matter how good or bad one side is. But one good thing about Daenerys is that she seeks counsel to check her worst impulses, and that's primarily been Tyrion. But the problem of Daenerys checking her worst impulses is that it's been the detriment to her. Because she's been trying to be a good person, she lost 2 of her dragons, a majority of her army. She lost Dorne and Highgarden, and she's being taken advantage of by Cersei. And that's the tragedy in Daenerys' character. She wants to do right and she's a good person, but her suppressing who she is really to her detriment. And now she's going to take her dragon to King's Landing and destroy her image and any support that anyone would already want for her. She's already having trouble having people in Westeros rally to her side. And after she burns King's Landing, she will never get support, and she'll probably lose the support of her own people. She already lost Varys. So because of Jon being a Targaryen, she's losing her claim to the throne. And because of Cersei, she'll lose her legacy. And I don't think she'll make it by the end of this show. But I think Daenerys' death could represent the turn of a new leaf. She wants to destroy the wheel, but uses that very wheel to push her Targaryen name onto others. She says that she wants to save the world from tyrants, but is willing to become a tyrant to stop them. And Daenerys has constantly taken power. And in this new world, I don't know how important that is. And while Daenerys has been focused on taking back what is hers, Jon has had a very different experience. And I think it makes him more in line for the throne. Because Jon's key story arc is about perspective. It's about understanding another person's point of view. Daenerys constantly uses her claim to sit the throne, whereas Jon never had a claim because he was raised as a bastard. He joined the Night's Watch and judged everyone there, and Tyrion gave Jon a lesson on perspective. So Jon ended up befriending members of the Night's Watch, because he understood their stories and listened to them.
Everybody knew what this place was, but no one told me. No one but you. My father knew, and he left me to rot at the wall all the same.
Gren's father left him too, outside a farmhouse when he was 3. Pip was caught stealing a wheel of cheese his little sister hadn't eaten in 3 days. He was given a choice, his right hand or the wall. I've been asking the Lord Commander about them. Fascinating stories.
They hate me because I'm better than they
It's
are.
a lucky thing none of them were trained by master-at-arms like your Sir Roderick. I don't imagine any of them have ever held a real sword before they came here.
But then he went over the wall, and he learned about the wildlings. He learned about their perspective, and he fell in love with one. So he made peace between the crows and the wildlings and got killed for it. And the wildlings supported Jon so much, they went south of the wall to help him fight Winterfell. And then they elected him king in the north. And then he went to go understand and make peace with Daenerys, who at the time was seen as a foreign invader. And then he went to go capture a white to make peace with Cersei. So Jon is constantly being the bridge between two very dramatic sides. It was the Starks and the Targaryens. It was Cersei and everyone else. His blood is the bridge of fire and ice. He's experienced life and death. He brought peace between wildlings and crows. And with this new world of breaking the wheel, Jon's character goes perfect with this. Jon was never able to use the wheel because he was a bastard. He was always elected his power. People chose him to rule. And since Jon isn't power hungry or wants anything, there's a lack of politics and manipulation. What Jon says is his word, even if it's to his own detriment. And that's a good thing to have in a future ruler.
I'm not going to swear an oath I can't uphold. Talk about my father if you want. Tell me that's the attitude that got him killed. But when enough people make false promises, words stop meaning anything.
And there's prophecy that backs Jon sitting on the throne. We see Daenerys walking in King's Landing, and the Iron Throne is just out of her reach while she's in the destruction of King's Landing that she will create. And it could be interpreted that a Snow sits on the throne, and that could be Jon. But then later, Daenerys hears the cries of her dragons, and she leaves to go see her family again, and that could speak to Daenerys' death. We also see Bran's visions, and Bran has been more fixated on Jon being a Targaryen, and Jon's past, more than the Night King. And it speaks to Jon's importance on how his role could actually be the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms and rebuild the world after the reign of Cersei and the defeat of the Night King. And there's also Melisandre, who brought back Jon from the dead, and she supported him as Azor Ahai. And she believes that king will come at a cost.
This war has just begun. It will last for years. Thousands will die at your command. You will betray the man serving you. You will betray your family. You will betray everything you once held dear. And it will all be worth it. Because you are the son of fire. You are the warrior of light. You will sweep aside this pretender and that one. You will be king.
But on top of that, Jon now has people in his camp to fight for him, because Jon will never fight for himself. He now has Varys, and Varys now believes in Jon wholeheartedly, and I'm sure he can do a lot to garner Jon a lot of support.
Tell me something, Varys. Who do you truly serve?
The realm, my lord. Someone must.
So Jon is the most obvious candidate to the throne. I think Jon will live in this season. But there could be a situation where Jon might decide to not take the throne, to live his own life. Or he may die, and there's other characters who could take the mantle of the Seven Kingdoms. The next person I think is plausible is Tyrion. I think Tyrion's primary character arc was to be a mentor. His first lesson was teaching Jon Snow about perspective. He taught Daenerys how to be tempered and how to think through her actions and to speak to her council. And Tyrion has the same vision as Daenerys to break the wheel, and he's shown huge enthusiasm on how to ensure that the wheel stays broken to continue to build this better world. And I think Tyrion would be the perfect underdog to push that agenda to make the world a better place. Another character that I think is likely is Sansa. She learned a lot in King's Landing, learned a lot of political intrigue, and I think Sansa would be a good queen. But the one issue I find with Sansa is her character is so based on political intrigue, and I don't think that's necessary in this new world they want to build. I think Sansa would be an incredible Queen of the North, because she's clearly grown away from King's Landing and has embraced her being a Stark, and she fights more for her people than anyone else. But then there's unlikely predictions that people say may sit the throne and I just think won't happen. First there's Bran, and Bran can't rule a damn thing. He's a talking mummy and he's a history book. The important aspects that make up a ruler, Bran does not have.
Mostly I live in the past.
And then there's Aria, and Aria will never be queen because she's not a lady. She told Gendry that. And if Aria makes it through this season and stays alive, then she's probably going to adventure west of Westeros. And then finally, people like to say that Gendry could sit the throne. And this guy said it, he can't even hold a fork. But what that means is that he has no experience leading. He's gained no respect. He hasn't done anything significant. And them electing Gendry, the King of the Seven Kingdoms, falls right into the same trap of Season 1. Just electing somebody because of their blood and not because of their qualifications. Jon is the rightful heir to the throne because of his blood, but Jon has proven himself. He's been elected a leader time and time again. Gendry's done nothing. So Gendry being a leader would undermine the whole purpose of the show. But then there goes into another aspect, where there may be no throne at all. The Seven Kingdoms could be broken down, and every place becomes independent. Sansa could be Queen of the North. Tyrion could be King of Casterly Rock. Gendry could be King of Storm's End. Or instead of just one person being in power and sitting on the throne, it would be a group of people with the best interest of the Seven Kingdoms, and they get elected in almost like a parliament. And while I think that's a possibility, I think it's even more likely to get a definitive throne, a definitive person who will sit upon the Iron Throne to make the world a better place. And I know a lot of people think it would be boring if it was Jon Snow, but I think it has to be Jon at this point. Since Season 1, his whole character arc has been defined on him being a bridge between two sides, bringing people together, being elected power even though having nothing. And I think he'll begrudgingly have to be king to make the world a better place. And I think unfortunately he'll take it after Daenerys helps conquer it for him. But that's it everyone, let me know what you thought about this video in the comment section down below. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.